Despite his success in unifying the Muslim world after the troubles of Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu's caliphate, one decision Muawya made would make him a controversial character and change the nature of Islamic government for the next 1300 years. He appointed his son Yazid as his successor well before his own death and demanded oath of allegiance from the notables of Damascus. Muslim historians throughout the ages have speculated as to his reasoning for doing so, especially considering the subsequent opposition that arose to Yazid. However, keeping in mind that historical context of Muawiyah's time makes it easier to understand why the switch to a hereditary system made sense. Muawiyah's time as a caliph showed the emphasis he placed on political unity and harmony. After the political upheaval of Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu's caliphate, Muawiyah's main challenge was keeping the Muslim world united under one command. Although he largely succeeded, there was no guarantee that all subsequent caliphs would be able to use external threats or political maneuvering to minimize internal divisions. Muawiyah thus felt that the only way to preserve social unity and harmony was to simply bypass wars of succession and make the caliphate hereditary. As it happened, however, the choice of Yazid was not without controversy. Unlike his father, he had never known the Prophet, peace be upon him, and was thus without the aura that comes with being a companion. Furthermore, rumors swirled in the holy cities of Mecca and Medina of the sinful life that Yazid led. Alcohol, singing girls, and excessive luxuries to be found in Yazid's presence, a far cry from the pious and simple lifestyle Muhammad, peace be upon him, had preached. Whether or not these allegations of wickedness were accurate, they were enough for some to revolt, such as Abdullah ibn al-Zubair, the son of Zubair, who opposed Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Compounding the problem were the desires of some in Iraq to see a descendant of Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu take the title of Caliph of the Muslim world. Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu's oldest son, Hassan, had already died in Mecca during Muawiyah's reign, so support fell to his younger brother, Husayn. This grandson of Muhammad was attracted to the city of Kufa in Mesopotamia by promises of support from its people, against the advice of Abdullah ibn al-Zubair, who warned him that the people of Iraq will desert him at their first opportunity. Husayn set out to establish a base in Iraq in 680, from which he could oppose the Syrian Umayyad, as his father had done 25 years earlier. True to Abdullah's prediction, the people of Kufa abandoned their support to Husayn before he even arrived. Yazid had already sent a new governor to the city to root out any opposition and ensure that the population does not rise up in revolt against him, and it appeared to be this show of force that persuaded the people to abandon their promise of support. Husayn had been counting on that support and only travelled with about 70 family members and friends, hardly a force capable of overthrowing Yazid. At the plain of Karbala, about 80 kilometers north of Kufa, Husayn was surrounded by Yazid's forces, which proceeded to kill the would-be rebel and most of his supporters. The Battle of Karbala would later become one of the founding legends of a new divergent strain of Islam, the Shia. Abdullah ibn al-Zubair's revolt did not fare much better. After the killing of Husayn, popular support throughout the Muslim world was against the Umayyad government. Husayn was, after all, the Prophet's, peace be upon him, dearly beloved grandson, and killing someone who had the Prophet, peace be upon his, blood flowing through him was a shock to many of the more pious-minded. Abdullah used his opposition to Yazid to bolster his own revolt against the Umayyad, which he declared in Mecca in 680 after Husayn's death. With such support, Abdullah's revolts could not be stamped out as easily as Husayn's. In fact, Yazid was never able to do away with the revolt in the Hijaz and died in 683 without complete control over the empire. After Yazid's death, it seems that Umayyad control collapsed almost everywhere in the Muslim world. Yazid's successor, a youth who seems to have had no interest in government, only ruled for a few months before his own death. Abdullah declared himself caliph and was given oath of allegiance by people in Iraq, Egypt, and even the fringes of Syria itself. But through a mix of tribal politics and upon fighting, the Umayyads managed to regain control of the caliphate under Marwan, a cousin of Muawya. Under Marwan and his son Abd al-Malik, the Umayyad regained control of Syria, Egypt, and Iraq, and eventually stamped out Abdullah ibn al-Zubair's rebellion in Mecca by 692. The Umayyad had come back from the brink of extinction to regain complete control over the Muslim empire. This certainly was not the tranquility and harmony Muawya had hoped for when he appointed his son as a caliph. But once the Umayyad were re-established, the period of civil war between 680 and 692 seemed like nothing more than a small hiccup. In the late 600s and early 700s, the Umayyads continued with a second period of rapid military expansion and economic growth that would rival any period of expansion in Islamic history before or since.